Ever thought about how you first learned about money? For most of us, it wasn't in a classroom with spreadsheets and budgets. It came to us as a feeling, an emotion. Maybe it was the tension you felt when rent was due, or the quiet pride in a parent's voice after a paycheck cleared. Money rarely enters our lives as just numbers. It enters as pressure, relief, or even fear. These early emotional lessons shape how we handle our finances, long before we ever think about creating a budget. Think about a typical day. You're exhausted after work, and making dinner feels like a monumental task. That simple swipe of a card for takeout isn't about being irresponsible. It's about your brain seeking immediate relief from stress. It's human biology. Our financial systems are actually designed around this. Payments are seamless, bills are out of sight until they're due, and the instant gratification is right there. The discomfort of paying is delayed, but the reward is now. So many of us believe we're just bad with money because we lack discipline. But what if it's not about discipline at all? What if it's about cognitive load? Life is demanding. Your job, your family, your health. The constant stream of notifications, it all takes mental energy. When you're constantly drained, there's very little bandwidth left for complex, long-term financial planning. Decisions become reactive, not because you don't care, but because you simply don't have the mental space. Then there's the comparison trap. We see the shiny cars, the beautiful homes, the amazing vacations. What we don't see is the debt, the stress, and the anxiety behind those curated snapshots of success. Our brains are wired to see this as survival information. Falling behind feels dangerous. This creates a silent pressure to keep up, even when it doesn't make financial sense. And the system itself plays a huge role. Paychecks come on a predictable schedule, but life doesn't. A surprise medical bill or a car repair can throw everything off balance. Credit steps in to fill that gap, and over time relying on it can feel normal. The line between your money now and your money in the future starts to blur. This is how habits form, not through conscious choice, but through repeated actions under stress. Soon, these patterns feel like part of our personality, and we say, I'm just bad with money. But here's the thing. Your behavior is not your identity. It's an adaptation to the world around you. Managing money is less about control and more about how you perceive your life. How stable does your world feel? When the future is uncertain, planning for it can feel pointless. So, we optimize for the present. These are rational responses to our emotional environments. When we start to see financial decisions through this lens, understanding the fears, the hopes, the fatigue, a whole story changes. It becomes less about judgment and more about awareness. Less about blame and more about context. Because in the end, money isn't just a system of numbers. Ever wonder why you check your bank account at the same time every day? Or why your spending habits seem to be on autopilot after every paycheck? These aren't just random actions. They're deeply ingrained money habits, and they don't appear out of nowhere. They grow slowly, shaped by repetition and reinforced by our emotions, eventually becoming so automatic we don't even notice them anymore. One big reason these habits are so powerful is that our brains crave certainty. Familiar financial routines feel safe, even if they aren't actually the best for us. The thought of changing them introduces discomfort, risk, and stress. And when money is already a source of anxiety, our minds instinctively resist adding more uncertainty to the pile. It's simply easier to stick with what we know, even if it's no longer working for us. Then there's the paycheck cycle. Our entire lives can revolve around when we get paid. When money comes in, there's a sense of relief, of abundance. When it gets low, tension builds. This rhythm trains us to spend more when our accounts look full and pull back when they relean. Our brains react more to the balance we see today than to a bigger financial goal months down the road. This is especially true when money feels tight. Scarcity narrows our focus. We zero in on immediate problems, not future plans. Research shows that this intense focus on the here and now actually reduces our mental bandwidth, making it harder to think long-term. It's not about being bad with money. It's about your brain's resources being completely consumed by urgency. In those moments, a short-term fix feels like the only option. Past experiences also leave a powerful financial imprint. If you've ever dealt with sudden job loss or unexpected medical bills, you might handle money differently for years to come. These events teach us lessons. Saving can feel pointless if you believe loss is inevitable, and spending might feel justified if the future feels uncertain. These aren't irrational behaviors. They are learned survival responses. And let's be honest, modern financial systems are designed to work with our psychology, not against it. Automatic payments reduce friction, but also awareness. Credit limits create an illusion of spending power. Rewards programs frame spending as a gain. Over time, we adapt to these systems without even realizing it. Even our identity gets tied up in it. We tell ourselves, I'm just a spender, or I'm not a numbers person. These labels might feel true, but they also lock us into place. What's often missing from this conversation is compassion. Money habits are rarely about laziness or ignorance. They are the result of our environment, our experiences, and the emotional strategies we've developed to survive. Understanding this shifts the focus from blame to awareness. Managing money is about navigating complex systems with a very human brain shaped by stress, memory, and emotion. Have you ever noticed that your money habits seem stuck in a past version of your life? Maybe your income's gone up, but you still spend like you're just starting out. Or perhaps you went through a tough time financially, and even though you're stable now, you can't shake that feeling of insecurity. There's a reason for this. Our brains store money decisions alongside powerful emotional memories, and it doesn't automatically update them. It just replays the old script. If you've ever felt the threat of scarcity, your nervous system can get stuck in that mode, making you feel anxious, even when everything is okay. In our culture, money is so tangled up with our sense of self-worth. We measure success by our income and lifestyle. So when our financial reality doesn't match up with those ideals, it can bring up a lot of shame. And shame is a silencer. It stops us from talking openly about money, even with the people we trust most. We start to believe we're the only ones struggling, that everyone else has it all figured out. This isolation is a heavy burden, but the truth is, most people are navigating some kind of financial uncertainty. We're just not talking about it. This turns a systemic issue into what feels like a personal failure. Then there's what you could call financial momentum. Once a pattern starts, it's hard to change course. It takes energy and a sense of safety to rethink our money habits. When life feels chaotic, our instinct is to conserve energy, so we avoid big financial decisions. It's not laziness. It's self-preservation. On top of that, modern finance apps, with their constant alerts and real-time updates, can add to the anxiety. Every little dip can feel like a disaster. And all around us, advertising tells us that spending is the key to happiness, belonging, and self-care, linking our emotions directly to our wallets. When we look at it this way, our money struggles start to tell a different story. They're not just about math. They're about how we cope with pressure and uncertainty. They show how we adapt. Understanding this doesn't magically fix everything, but it reframes the entire problem. Your financial behavior isn't a fixed part of your personality. It's a response to your life experiences. And just like any other response, by replacing judgment with curiosity and understanding, we can start to see money not as a measure of our worth, but simply as a reflection of our journey. Did you know that by the time you're an adult, your relationship with money is already set? Not because you chose it, but because of what you've seen and lived through. Your repeated experiences have quietly taught you what money can and can do, whether it means safety or stress, whether it sticks around or vanishes in an instant. These lessons build your expectations, and your expectations drive your behavior. One of the biggest factors is control, or the lack of it. If your income has always felt unpredictable, you learn to see money as temporary, something to be used before it disappears. When unexpected bills pop up constantly, saving can feel pointless, and making a plan seems fragile. In this kind of environment, flexibility becomes more valuable than structure. You prioritize having access to cash over making the most of every dollar, because quick access feels like survival. This is how emergency behavior becomes everyday behavior. The habits you form during a crisis don't just go away when things calm down. They become your default setting. Your brain doesn't easily separate past danger from present safety. It just remembers what worked before and does it again. Then there's the issue of trust. Trust in your job, in banks, in the system itself. When that trust breaks down, you learn to rely only on yourself. You might avoid long-term plans or hesitate to commit to anything far in the future. This isn't being negative. It's being realistic based on your experience. If it feels like the rules can change at any moment, adapting quickly seems a lot smarter than committing deeply. Money also carries a heavy moral weight. especially in our culture. Making a lot is celebrated, while struggling is often hidden. This creates a huge internal conflict. You want to look like you have it all together, even when you feel like you're falling apart. Sometimes, financial choices are made to protect your dignity, not to improve your financial situation. And let's not forget the constant, quiet role of stress. Chronic financial stress often shows up as fatigue, distraction, or just plain avoidance. Bills go unopened, and big decisions get pushed back. Not because you don't care, but because caring hurts too much. Avoiding the problem becomes a way to cope, a way to get through the day. When you look at it this way, you realize that people's financial habits aren't failures. They are adaptations. People aren't broken. They are simply responding to the world around them. Understanding this is the first step toward real change. It's not just about crunching numbers. It's about rewriting the emotional logic that once kept you safe. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's simply human. Have you ever felt stuck in a financial loop? The same stress before bills. The same fleeting relief when you get paid. That nagging feeling you're not really getting ahead. You're not alone. So many of us go through this, and it's easy to think we're just bad with money. But what if it's not about that at all? What if our money habits are telling a much deeper story? Eventually, every long financial journey leads to a quiet realization. It's not some big, dramatic moment, but a slow understanding that our money behavior isn't random. It's patterned, and those patterns come from somewhere. Think about it. The same financial moments repeating over and over. This recognition isn't failure. It's the first step. It's awareness. And yes, awareness can be uncomfortable because it makes us realize it's not just our circumstances, but it also gives us context. We start to see how much of our financial life is shaped by things we can't control. Things like wage structures, the insane cost of housing, healthcare systems, and just the cultural pressure to have it all figured out. These forces don't excuse every choice, but they definitely explain the challenging landscape we're all trying to navigate. One of the biggest shifts happens when we understand that financial calm is unjust about the numbers in our bank account. It's about predictability. It's about having a rough idea of what tomorrow will look like. When you have that stability, your mind can finally relax. You can slow down, breathe, and start thinking long-term. Without that, even a high income can feel incredibly fragile. This is why two people with the exact same financial situation can act completely differently. One feels secure, the other feels exposed. Their actions follow their feelings, not just the math on a spreadsheet. The real game changer is separating your self-worth from your net worth. This isn't about willpower or discipline. It comes from understanding. When money stops being a grade on your life as a report card, your behavior becomes more flexible. A mistake is just a mistake, not a personal failing. Adjusting your plan doesn't feel like a threat. This emotional distance is where real change begins. The systems around us don't disappear, but our perception of them shifts. Money becomes a tool again, not a final verdict on who we are. Managing money is a lifelong process, not because we fail to learn, but because life is always changing. Our income, our needs, our priorities, they all evolve. The goal isn't perfection, it's adaptability. It's the ability to respond to life with intention, rather than just reacting out of fear. When you look at it this way, your financial behavior tells a deeply human story of survival and hope. You are not careless with money. You're careful with your emotions, protecting yourself in the best way you know how. And maybe that's the most important realization of all. Thanks for watching.